Yep. Is that good?
That's perfect, yeah.
Maybe we can start off.
Yeah. Oh, so have people joined us? People are coming in?
Yes, I've just
Okay.
submitted them.
Hi, I think you're just coming in to join us now. So people will just start slowly joining us, but we are going to get started and welcome you. So we may see people just keeping coming to join us as we go, but we'll start. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to University of Glasgow. Welcome to our online webinar for postgraduate students who, all being well, are coming to join us in the College of Medical, Veterinary and Life Sciences. I just want to let you know that the session is being recorded and it will be hosted on YouTube after today. So you'll be able to either go and watch it if you haven't been able to join us this afternoon, or go and follow up by watching the video again. So Anil, if you could move the slides on. And on to the next one. So one slide back. So I'll just introduce who, if you wouldn't mind going one back, Anil, I'll just introduce who you're joining this afternoon for the webinar. So I'm Kirstin Stuart James. I'm the academic lead for Postgraduate Online Education in MVLS, that's Medicine, Veterinary and Life Sciences. And on the call, we have Jenny Crow, who is a digital education team manager. And Jen is also a PhD student, so has quite a lot of empathy for what it's like to study as a postgraduate alongside working. Maurice Raymond is here, who's student support officer in the graduate school. And we also have Chris Thompson, a finance operations supervisor, and Anil George, who's marketing and communications officer and is helping to facilitate this afternoon. If you wouldn't mind moving on, Anil. So what we'll be covering in the webinar. So again, would like to welcome you to the webinar this afternoon. And then I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what it's like to study online at University of Glasgow. And then Jenny is going to take you on a short tour of some of the learning sites, what it would look like to study as a postgraduate online. Maurice is going to tell you something about what to expect from student support. And then we're back I will address some of the frequently asked questions and also what to do next. And then Chris will be joining us for a Q&A and conversation at the end, any questions that you might have about anything, but in particular student finance. Now, do feel free to put questions in the chat as we go, and I will keep a bit of an eye on those. But at the same time, if you don't fancy asking a question on the mic, do feel free to put question in the chat for the end of this session. Anil, if you wouldn't mind moving on to the next slide. So a recap, some of you might have joined us before. We had a session like this earlier in the year in March. So you may have heard this before, but if you haven't, I'd like to welcome you again to University of Glasgow. So University of Glasgow was established in 1451, some time ago. It's a World Top 100 it's a World Top 100 university. It's a member of the Russell Group. You may have heard of that. These are research-intensive universities. It has some famous alumni, including 8 Nobel laureates. One in particular, Professor Robert Edwards, was a researcher who developed the world's first IVF clinic back in 1980. University of Glasgow has 43,000 students from 140 plus countries, of whom 1,500 are studying online, and the majority of those are actually studying online in this college, so you'd be in good company joining us to study online. Anil, if you wouldn't mind moving on to the next slide. So why do people come back and study as postgraduates? Well, postgraduate education is getting more and more important. The world of work is becoming much, much more complex. Postgraduate skills are very necessary to navigate in the workplace. So studying as a postgraduate develops your topic knowledge and skills in a chosen area and supports you to develop as an expert in your field. Studying as a postgraduate supports your career progression. And in fact, if you're looking for promotion or to progress in your career, you might notice that evidence of master's study is often a criterion for advancing into senior and leadership roles. In addition, people might be looking for a slight change in career track or to pivot in their career. So they might be interested in moving into something slightly different from what they're doing at the moment. Please feel free to go on, Anil. So why would you choose then to study online rather than studying in an on-campus program? If you wouldn't mind going one slide back, Neil. So what online and one forward, what studying online means is that if you're studying online, people will study alongside working. So online study will mean that you will be able to study part-time alongside work. It means that you can be a bit more self-paced in your learning. It means that you don't necessarily have to uproot and move. You can be more mobile and it's more accessible. If you wouldn't mind moving on a slide, Anil. And in terms of then what a master's program looks like, so part-time, usually over 3 years, and we think of those in terms of credits. So the first year of a master's program is usually what we might call a postgraduate certificate, which means 60 credits, moving on to a postgraduate diploma where you'd get 120 credits. And then year 3 of a master's is often where you might focus on a project or a piece of research. And then at the end of a master's degree, you would have 180 credits at master's level 11. But beyond the content of studying as a postgraduate, you're developing what we often call the mastersness, mastery, or postgraduateness, which means that you're also developing criticality in your thinking, you're developing leadership skills, you're developing research skills, and also it provides opportunity to build a professional network. Because many people who are studying for postgraduate qualifications are very focused on their professional life and their career. So building a professional network, being able to work alongside and get to know experts in the field is something that is really valuable alongside developing your knowledge and skills in the area. If you wouldn't mind moving on to the next slide, Neil. Okay, so I think we've covered this one about the benefits of studying online and why people would choose to do that rather than relocating to move to a campus. And I think we're ready to move on and have Jenny present something about what it looks like to study online as a student.
Great. Okay. Thanks very much, Kirstin. Anil, can you enable screen sharing? Because I think that's not happening at the moment. Great. Thanks. So nice to see you this afternoon. My role is that I very much help the learning process for online students. So I thought I'd give you a quick tour around Moodle for those that might not have seen what it's like to study online before. So each of the different programs has a program hub, which has all the essential programme information. We have some resources around wellbeing, study skills, around student reps. We try to encourage student reps to give feedback about the courses so we can hopefully improve them, and different resources that help you in the learning. And then there's a list of all the different courses that you will be studying. So this is what Moodle looks like. There's a left-hand menu to help you navigate, and each of these opens up into some more detailed resources about wellbeing. And there are lots of different things that the university does to support you in your journey as online students. All the different things that are offered to on-campus students, like the counselling service, like the library, all offer online appointments, which is really great. So this is a Moodle course in a slightly different programme. So that was sport. This is animal nutrition, which is another one of our really popular online programmes. And you can see this is what you'd get for each of your different individual academic courses. So we have a course information section, then we have an assessment section where you can find out details about your different assessments, and then this is a 5-week course, so we've got 5 blocks of teaching, and then a final evaluation section. So I'll show you a bit about what this looks like. So within this programme, we have a to-do list, which shows you what you've got to do each week. Then we have a lesson with all your learning through the week. We provide alternative formats for you to maybe learn in a different style, or potentially if you've got a disability, you might prefer that style. And then we have a link to our online reading list, which provides the reading that you will be able to do within your week. And each of those different items, mainly as articles, are available via the library, and it tracks your login from Moodle to the library and gives you full access to all the journals and ebooks that the library provides. So it's a great system and it's all very interlinked, so hopefully makes your learning an easy process. I'll quickly show you one of these. Give it a little moment to load. It loads a little bit more slowly because we're also running Zoom at the same time. So as you can see, it's quite clean looking, and we've got some little mini videos. And for each of the different audios and videos, we have a transcript, or we have subtitles, closed captions with accurate captions, so you can consume the learning how you'd like to consume it. Because I know sometimes people want to learn on the bus to work, and you may have forgotten your headphones at that time, so you can watch the subtitles or read the transcriptions as you prefer. And then we've got some introduction to the text. So this one's got quite a bit of audio. So that's a bit about what the learning looks like. So this course is a 5-week course, which is a 10-credit course. And so that runs over 5 weeks with then a break for a week before your next course. And there's 3 different semesters we run our programmes in. For most of our programs, there's a slight exception of psychology that runs over 2 semesters. So we try to split up your learning throughout the year so that you can fit it in with your other things that you're doing. We also have some really great online resources, and we have the IT, and we have Office 365, which really helps us facilitate doing online learning. So you get a free copy of Office. So things like Word and PowerPoint, which you'll use as part of your studies. Then you also get OneNote. You get Copilot, which is quite interesting for AI, potentially for some productivity tools, although we do have some guidance on how to use AI within your learning. So I'd recommend having a look at that. So lots of different tools that we provide to you to make your journey with us as seamless as possible. Then we have the Zoom sharing has just gone above my. Then we have the library, which is really great. So you can search all the different journals, and it's quite an easy system to use, and it'll bring up all the different books. So for instance, if you're searching for a topic that you would be writing an essay on, then you could do that within the library. And being an online student, you have full access to the full database while studying wherever you are in the world. You could be in Glasgow or you could be at home. So very happy to take any questions on the digital experience. So if you very happy to take those in person via your mic, or if you want to use a chat box, then feel free.
Hey, thank you very much, Jenny. And while you're just taking a moment to reflect on that, Anil, if you wouldn't mind bringing the presentation up again. And next, we're going to hand over to Maurice Raymond, who is going to be talking you through some of the student support that we offer here at the University of Glasgow. So just while Anil gets ready to load up the presentation there, please put any questions in the chat that you might have about online learning and teaching. And we'll hand over now to Maurice.
Hi everyone, and thank you so much, Kirstin, for introducing me. I'm the student support officer for the MVLS graduate school. And if we could just move to the next slide, Anil, that would be great. Thank you. So there's a lovely picture of me as well. And yeah, so what I do is, in a nutshell, I provide a confidential service that helps accessing the wide range of support within and out with the university. So that can range from academic support to counseling and therapy. And I'm part of like a bigger student support officer network. So there's more people than me, but my role in that sense is unique, that I support all students within the graduate school from the different schools within the graduate school. And yeah, there's also just on the slide my email, which I will also pop in the chat. If we could move to the next slide, please. So you might be wondering then what I do as a student support officer. Generally what it is I provide practical and emotional support, and there are some common issues that I might want to help you with that you might experience while you're studying at university. So that might be managing your health and well-being, finding the right study skills support. So for example, you might be struggling with writing essays or organizing yourself, preparing for exams, those kind of things. Then also resolving financial issues and getting you in touch with the finance office. And we also have accessing local support from the schools and the colleges, and which is rather a big one, accessing the specialist university services. So that includes counseling, disability support, and student learner development for academic support. But while most of this is focused on support within the university, there are also external support services that I could get you in touch with, like signpost you to, if that would be helpful. So that would include, for example, charities, the NHS, or local councils. Obviously, that depends a little bit more on your location and where you are located as an online student. So we'd have to see there what would be applicable to you, but generally that's also something I can help you with. And just want to take that opportunity to say as well, if at any point during your studies you feel like you need support but don't know exactly what it is that you need support with, then you can just come to chat with me and we can have a confidential chat about all the different support options and kind of figure out together what it is that would be of use for you. And all those resources will be available to online students as well. We could move on to the next slide, Anil. Thank you. So you might also be wondering then, who do I work with? So while, as I said, I work with some other student support officers who are part of my network, I also work with students and staff to basically make sure that you have all the tools to problem solve and navigate issues that might come up during your studies. Obviously, we hope that you have mostly a healthy and happy time, but things might come up. So I would get then, if you reached out to me, would depending on the situation, reach out to either, for example, the school or college teams on a local level. So that could be your supervisors or administrative staff. But also you might need some support from the more specialist support or central services. So that would be as I already mentioned, wellbeing and inclusion, which is the disability support and counseling, which offer online appointments. Then for some of you, it might be you might have to get in touch with the International Student Support Team or the Student Service Inquiry Team, which I could get you in touch with, or as well registry, or if you're thinking about the future past university at any point during your studies, although I appreciate that might be at a later point at your university journey, but I could also then get you in touch with the career service. And then as well, the finance department and the student learning development service, again, for study skills support. We could move on to the next slide, please, Anil. I just compiled a list there with a few examples of why you might want to approach me during your time here at university. And these are just a few examples, so it's definitely not exhaustive. I'm sure there will be a whole range of other reasons why you would like to speak to me, but these are just some of the more common ones, I'd say, that I see often. So it might be to help with a school-specific problem or process, or you're maybe unsure who to contact for advice within your school, who maybe what administrator or your advisor of studies maybe, or you might need some support in approaching your academic staff, which at times can be, I feel like, a little bit daunting. And yeah, you might also, as an online student, maybe feel isolated a little bit or struggle at university. So that's definitely something you can also reach out for support to me. As well as the transition from undergraduate study to postgraduate study, which yeah, can be sometimes quite difficult to manage. So that's something as well we can have a chat about. And then I guess on an individual basis, some of you might have caring or parental responsibilities, might need to look into maternity or paternity leave. So that's also something I can help you with the services and with the right, I guess, policies that would pertain to you there. And generally, I can just be a point of contact for you, so you don't have to navigate all the different services yourself. And just lastly, what I want to say there is, you can also reach out to me if you've been a victim of a crime or an accident. Hopefully, that will not be the case. Hopefully, no one will have to reach out to me for that. But if unfortunately something like that happens, please know that you can reach out to me. Okay, next slide, please, Anil. Thank you. So yes, I just wanted to also draw attention to the fact that I do some online events and drop-ins for international for online students, including obviously international students. So those online events are usually over Zoom or over Teams, and they take place throughout the academic year at different points, and they're just a great opportunity to meet other online students. And yeah, they range from information sessions when it's more about what's being offered at the university and to give you the important information that's really useful to have, to just, yeah, some fun activities like a virtual quiz and trivia get together, which, yeah, this is just a really great chance to meet people, get chatting, and yeah, so, but then I also, what I do is run online drop-in sessions during the academic year. They take place on Fridays, 12 p.m., and they start again on the 19th of September, which is during the Welcome Week semester one, which I'm aware is quite far ahead right now, but I just kind of wanted to, yeah, put it out there already. But yes, so they will be happening as well. And those drop-in sessions are aimed at short questions that you might have. So, like, for example, how do I get in touch with an academic advisor or get a student card or those kind of things? And for more complex issues, would be best to book a meeting with me. But yeah, these are definitely some of the online resources that I provide, and currently working through the planning the online event. So hopefully by September, everything should be set up. We could just move on to the next slide, please. You. So yeah, that's just my contact details again. And as I said, also I provide virtual appointments, also telephone calls. And obviously I know, yeah, it's the virtual appointments, telephone calls that would be more specific to you. But if for some reason if you find yourself in Glasgow, please also you can also book an appointment with me in person. And yeah, either that email address or scanning that QR code there as well. But as I said, I'll also put the email address in the chat as well. Okay. Yeah, I think that would be all from me for now.
Great, thank you so much. So I'm hoping that you are getting a feel for what it might be like to study online. And Jenny has taken you through how the learning has been designed for people who are studying online. And Maurice has told you the types of supports that you could expect. So I hope you're getting a feel that you would be as included in these kinds of services as if you were coming to campus as an in-person student. So I've just put a few general questions that get asked, things that come up quite a lot. So Maurice has already said that if you do live within travelling distance to the campus, some people do like to come into Glasgow either for meetings or to go to the library, for example. So you're not excluded from the physical campus by any means. But at the same time, access to the library, to student support and so on is available through virtual digital means. Graduation is always lots and lots of fun. It's a real celebration. And of course, you are invited to come to graduation in person. Nothing delights me more than somebody attending an open event such as this and then meeting them in person at a graduation. That's a fantastic thing, to know that somebody's been all the way through that journey. There's nothing on the degree certificate that says the method by which you studied. So an MSc is an MSc. Anil, if you wouldn't mind going on to the next slide. So I've put my email into the chat there. Do feel free to get in touch. And now is an opportunity to maybe let's have a conversation. So Anil, do you want to stop sharing the presentation? And I can see there is a question that's gone into the chat. I'm just about to read it. So I'm not sure about that, Maurice. I think I don't know if you want to answer that one. I can think of one answer to it, but I might.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm happy to answer one. So no, unfortunately, I'm not able to help with that with any course applications. It's more yeah, the support I can provide is more for students who are already registered at university and online students. But I guess in case like this, it would be best to reach out to if it's like about the course application for a specific course, to the contacts that should be listed on the website for the course that you're looking at.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Maurice. So if people need support with their application, then I would suggest that you get in touch with the admissions office, the program director, and if you're the program director, and if you're not quite sure where to find that information or who to go to, please do copy my email address out of the chat there, and do feel free to drop me a line, and I'll make sure I put you in touch with the right person, because the application process is something that you would have support to do, but I just want to make sure that I put you in touch with the right person to do that. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, or I suppose if they wanted to share their email address in the chat as a private message to me, I could forward it on to the
Good point,
relevant
Jenny.
program administrator. So if you'd like to put in your email address and what program you're thinking about, you're interested in, you're trying to work out your application, we can get the course administrator to help, who's very familiar with the application process, because we're very keen to support you in that process. So do let us know what program. So in the chat, instead of sending it to everybody, you can send it to me personally and with an email address, and we'll get in touch with you.
Thank you for offering that, Jenny. That's really helpful. So the next question is about the number of hours that I need to put in. So if you think about a 20 credit course, which would usually take place over about 10 weeks is usual, sometimes with a reading week, that would be 200 hours, nominal hours of study, which would be for kind of everything. And so what that means then is about 20 hours a week. Now that's going to go up and down. So that's for a 20 credit course, is about that amount of time. But that's going to be sometimes a bit more work some weeks if you're coming up to assessment time, a bit less some weeks. And I would say that most students that I've worked with have also been working full time whilst they've been completing a master's degree. So there's no doubt that over the 3 years of a master's degree part-time, it is concentrated effort, no doubt. People will kind of study evenings, take time at the weekend. It's really important to look after your well-being when you're doing that. But it is a concentrated period of time that people do that for. It's not forever. And so people do manage it to do it alongside a full-time job. And I would say that is a very common experience for people who are studying online with a part-time master's. I hope that's helpful. Recommended reading lists. So I might hand over to Jenny. You might be well placed to take this one. So there is a kind of induction process coming on board for University of Glasgow. There's quite a lot of induction activity, quite a lot of transition activity, welcome activity, and alongside that, I believe there are some online courses that you can take to prepare for being a postgraduate student. And I might just hand over to Jenny to fill in a bit more detail about this, because Jenny's a bit more familiar with the induction.
Yeah, sure. So in September for the September intake in mid-September. I'm just going to pull up the date. Because September seems a little while away, but it's not. So on the week of the 8th of September, we have an induction week, and then teaching usually starts around the 15th. So we have a Moodle induction course to help you settle into studying. So what I would say is maybe try and think about where you could fit into your week some studying. So try and block in some times, whether it be some lunch times, after evenings, or maybe a day at the weekend. Like, think about how a bit of a study plan, because I think that really helps you in getting to grips with online studying. I would also say, yeah, to regularly participate, to make a plan to regularly participate. I think it's really important to keep you going with your online study. Also, I would recommend to try and get to know some of your peers, because I think sometimes having some other people around you who are also in the same boat, it really helps people get through the online programs. So that would be some of my tips for kind of planning. Yes, we do have online reading lists. They are available. They should be available in advance. Sometimes I would say that we're still building them for later parts of the course. We try to have availability. So if that's of interest, you could reach out to the course administrator, and we can share those with you as a bit of a starter. I would say that often we try and build in things in small chunks so that you can try and fit your learning into, say, at lunchtime. And do look out for the alternative formats, because we do things like, we try sometimes in some programs, we do things in podcasts so you can listen to it in the car going to work. Or think about flexibility, like this little A button in Moodle, which is our Blackboard Ally tool, that you can convert your learning to other formats. So you can convert a Word document to an audio track, so you can listen to it while you're doing the washing or while you're cooking. Journal articles also can read it to you while you're doing other things. So I think sometimes while working and studying, it's often about being creative about how you can fit it in with your life. But yeah, I think it's not an easy process, but I would say it's possible, as Kirstin said.
That's really helpful, Jenny. So Jenny has some first-person recent experience of doing this as well as a PhD student. And the next question kind of feeds into this as well, about opportunities to network with other students, professionals, conferences and in-person events. This is a really, really important part of being a postgraduate student. And there's multiple ways of doing this. So some of this is about being a part of a cohort. So you're part of a group of students studying at the same time, and there's different ways that you might connect depending on what it is you're studying in that moment. So it might be that you're connecting through a discussion forum. You might be connecting regularly through a Teams chat. You may be having a webinar together online. You may be having a meeting online. And Maurice has also spoken about some other ways that people might connect more socially. In terms of things such as conferences and in-person events, so often the people who are running the programs are also often experts in their field who may be presenting at conferences. You may want to think about how you might develop your master's project to present at a conference and in-person events. There's numbers of professional conferences, numbers of research conferences that are held in different places and online, and some courses as well. If they're running an event, for example, they might have an expert speaker, they may be having a regular seminar series, then every student will get invited to those, no matter the format they're studying in. I think Jenny will probably have a bit more detail about this as well, probably will have a bit more to say about building those professional networks, because this is a really, really important part of this stage of your kind of professional development.
So a number of programs, they have like the optional lectures, guest lectures. It depends a bit on the subject field. Sometimes they'll share PhD opportunities, potential work opportunities. but I would say it's also about you creating your network and you getting to know the others in your course. So I think it's sometimes about, if there's a live session, come along, participate in that, try and reach out to some of the others in your program and get to know them, because I think it's about you also putting yourself out there and getting to know other people. And so if there's opportunities to introduce yourself, make the most of that. I would also say encourage you to share about your work background, share about cultural background within the learning as well, because that really brings the program to life. So I think yeah, really encourage you to participate and share what it's like from your point of view, because I think that makes it really interesting and helps others get to know you, so that you're present on the online program, so people know, oh, that's that person, oh, they work in a similar field as me, so I'd really like to connect with them, and that may be the kind of bouncing off point to say, oh yeah, we could exchange phone numbers, we could have a quick video chat. Oh, they're working in a similar field, and so it's kind of sometimes a little bit organic, but I would say to put yourself out there. Um, yeah, so I've just seen the next question about assessments. So yeah, so assessment deadlines we do share at the start of the semester to try and so you can plan things in. You can always submit early. That would be, don't leave it to the last minute. So I would encourage you, if you have things happening in your schedule, you could submit early. There is that opportunity, so that you can plan. You can also submit from anywhere. So you don't have to be at home to be submitted, provided you're online, you can submit from anywhere. If there's any bigger things that are happening in your lives, so for instance, there are extensions, automatic extensions for things like if you're ill, then we also have a good cause process for wider extensions if something like a bereavement happens. I would say it's better to hear from you before the deadline. We can do much more for you before the deadline. Um, we Things are quite accommodating for yourselves, and we do understand what it's like to be working and studying. So there are some flexibilities, but you need to let us know what is happening. So but yeah, we can have that chat with the person leading the course and the course administrator, and do keep them in the loop. If you are unwell, it's really great to hear about that before the deadline, so we can make accommodations for you. Yes, so assessment deadlines, so that can look like various different things. The assessments can be a written essay, can be a reflection, it could be a video presentation. There's a wide range of different things that would be an assessment. So we try to vary it and make it interesting for yourselves.
Yes, that's a very good question about taster courses and so on. Jenny, do you want to take this one as well?
Yes, so we do have some taster courses in some programs. I will quickly share the link for that. And these are hosted on our external Moodle.
Yeah, so while Jenny's getting that ready, so some of the programs have designed a kind of mini sort of taster, really, about what it would be like to come and study in the course full time. And so this gives a bit of an indication of the topic area, a bit of an overview. You get a better feel for what the course would look like when you're studying. It's got some examples of the types of assessment. If you would like to do more than that, either, again, please do email me your address or get in touch with me. You're very welcome to private email me your email address and let me know a little bit more about what it is that you're interested in doing, because as well as specific taster courses for particular things, there's also some things that might be similar on other platforms. There's platforms such as FutureLearn, such as Coursera, where some of the programs have developed a kind of a MOOC, what's called a MOOC, to give you a bit more insight into the full program. Now, as far as I know, I think I'm right in saying I don't think there's a cost for the external Moodle courses that Jen is about to share. Is that correct? If you go to an external provider such as this FutureLearn and Coursera, ones that the university has some short courses, some MOOCs on, there would be costs associated with that, but they tend to be quite a small amount of money to do the sort of MOOC, the MOOC course that's external. So do feel free to share your email address with me, or get in touch so I can find out a little bit more about what you're interested in studying in. And if you'd like to do something that's a bit more than the Moodle taster, then I can point you in the right direction. Well, those are some great questions. Would anybody like to ask anything else, or come on mic to ask a question? We haven't had a question about finances. That's usually something that comes up. Oh, well, here we go.
Can't have Chris being
Just,
left out.
I magicked that one up. Okay, so we'll hand over to Chris for
So with regards to the scholarships, we do have a scholarships team who you're able to contact to ask if there is anything. That's not my team who deal with it, but if you do come to us, we are more than willing to direct you to the right people. And ticking on to what Jenny was saying earlier, with regards to finances, we're all on board with the same point of as early communication as possible. We're here to help you and benefit your student journey, and the earlier you can contact us means the quicker we can have any issues resolved, have your account set up, and we are more than willing and happy to help all students. And our team, although being relatively small, we do deal with every single student, and everyone is treated individually, and that is how we want to portray our team to everyone. We want to be here to allow you the opportunity to come to us to discuss your finances and work with you in your own situations. The system is set up for automated payments and manual payments that is currently over an 8-month for September starts. However, if that doesn't quite work with yourself, we are more than willing to work on a more bespoke plan. And that would be based on your situation, your communications with us. And we will work with all other departments across the university, whether that be academic or non-academic, and making sure that your journey is the best possible journey that you can have as a student.
So thank you for sharing the link related to the scholarships. I'm not sure, Chris, if you would have a link or an email to put in the chat where people could find out a little bit more about the financial side of things. That was really helpful. There's been some great questions this afternoon. It looks like the questions are slowing down. I don't know if anybody has anything else that they would like to ask while we're here. Pathway for higher research, PhD. So this is a good question. So many people who would want to go on and do a PhD regularly do a master's first, because it gives you a good insight what that would look like. And as you're moving through the master's, I think most programs would have a dissertation or a larger project at the end. So that larger project is a really good insight into what might it be like if I went on and did a PhD. So PhDs at the moment, the PhD process, we've got Jenny here. Jenny can speak about this again firsthand, is mostly by research. So that would be a large piece of research that you would be doing, supported by supervisors, to write a thesis. Now, again, coming in to study in a master's program would give you a good insight into who is studying what. Who is researching in what area in terms of faculty. So again, you're building your network, you're finding out about who's researching what, and you're also developing your ideas in terms of what it is that you're interested in your field. that you might want to develop then and think of in terms of a PhD opportunity. So at the moment, a master's degree is a really good preparation for thinking to go on and study further in terms of PhD. It gives you a really good head start in that competitive field for thinking about going on and studying a PhD, because PhD availability is very competitive. Coming to University of Glasgow, you'll be studying in a research intensive university, and it will give you a really good insight then to think about the next step to PhD, as well as building a network where you may have more opportunity to connect with people who are active in the research field. So I hope that's a helpful answer to that question. I would say that it's a really good opportunity to be prepared for a PhD. It's a really good insight, and it would give you a lot of opportunity to find out what options there are for going on and studying for a PhD.
Sorry, Jenny, you go first. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I think it's plenty of time for both of us. So what I would say is that when you're thinking about your kind of master's dissertation or project, I would say that it's good to have a chat to your supervisor about what you'd like to do, and to say that you're interested in doing a PhD, so that you could potentially maybe do a project that kind of builds on each other to a PhD. So I think be open about your intentions and what you'd like to do, because they're very happy to facilitate these things. So, but I think do share with them that you're like, oh, it's my hope to do a PhD, so they can kind of guide you and build you up to that process.
And yeah, and I just also wanted to come in and say that like PhDs, or like thinking about a PhD, is also definitely something you can approach me with. So while I can't help you specifically with any like PhD with the application itself, like writing it or anything like that, what I can do is also help you, for example, with finding out how to find a supervisor, maybe, or what scholarships there maybe are in your research area, and what research opportunities there currently maybe are. So that's definitely something I could point you into the right direction as well with. So definitely something you can also approach me with.
I think we'll start to wrap up now. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll leave you with one thought in relation to PhD. I think going through the process of a master's, and in particular a master's dissertation, also brings opportunity to find out what's not going to work before you go ahead and take on an even bigger piece of work. I think it's a really good opportunity to do a piece of research that actually opens the door in terms of a topic, to think about what is valuable to build on and actually what is not going to work. So it's almost like a bit of a test run before you take on the even bigger PhD piece of work. And I see Jenny has her hand. I think you're on your mute.
Usual Zoom thing of so I noticed we've got another question in the chat. So my question to Nam, it would be really interesting to hear what program you're thinking about, if you had one that you were particularly interested in, and also noticed that we've got another another potential student, Alex, has joined us. So Alex, we've done a bit of presentation already, but it'd be really great if you've got any questions, or we've done a little tour around Moodle. If you've got anything specific you'd like to ask, it's great you've joined us. We've got Chris here from Finance, and Maurice, our Student Support Officers, and Kirstin and myself are from the digital side of things. We're very open to all types of questions, if you've got any, or whether you'd like me to run through Moodle again. I'm very happy to do that. So Nam, if you wouldn't mind sharing what program, and then we could
I think it might, so as we're moving more into kind of conversation and dialogue, do you think, Anil, it would be good to stop the recording at this point? And then we could probably get a bit more detailed rather than the overview with people who've just joined us.
Yeah.
That might be something that we could do at this point.